Hey,
Hey,
girlfriend.
girlfriend.
Today we are sharing our letters to our younger selves. We had a lot of feels about doing these. We printed them out in large font, y'all. And we are going to do the practice of reading them and processing them together out loud. And we also encourage you to do the same. This came as inspiration to me through a Substack that I was reading that I thought was beautiful, where they encourage people to do this.
Mm.
Also, fun fact, in a health class at Berkeley High School with a beautiful teacher named Nancy Rubin, she had us write a letter to our future selves
Oh,
where we would mark the date and she would file it and then send it to your future self. She actually became really well known about it and they made a documentary about her. It's a really beautiful thing.
oh, I love that.
So it's really cool now at this point in my life to be writing a letter to my um, younger self. So
That's so beautiful. So when you brought this up, I was
yeah.
super excited. For me, this is part of inner child work, right?
Mm.
Where we check back in with ourselves, or this concept, this idea that we are all the ages we've ever been. And so
Mhm.
wherever we got fractured and wounded and just messed up, that part of us is still there, but we can always go back and correct it or soothe it, take
Mm.
care of it. So for me, when you brought this up, I was like, oh, well, absolutely. This completely fits in.
Yes.
And it was interesting too that the age frames, the age times that you and I chose were so similar. And you and
Yes.
I, we didn't put any guardrails on like
No,
what the age
we didn't
frame
say what
was.
age we would do, and we both wrote to ourselves in our early 20s, right? Which is, for those of you listening who maybe are in your early 20s, it's a tumultuous time just because you're figuring out things as you're doing them, right? You are an adult and you're like forging your identity, and it's a big deal, but it's an intense time of life.
I'm so excited to hear yours.
Yeah.
Do we need to any context for who and where and what you were at 22 before we hear this letter?
Yeah, I think that's a great setup. So I was a fresh graduate out of UCLA, graduated with a theater degree, and now I was going to be an actor in LA, renting an apartment, being a waiter, doing the whole thing. So I was fresh out of school and, in a big city trying to figure it out.
Mm.
So that's the context.
Okay, so we are, and our job as girlfriends is to hold space for this, but also to like feel this story because I'm wondering what is going to connect for you or resonate for you. So I want to encourage you to be really gentle with yourself after or while listening to this and afterward,
Hmm.
and maybe write your own letter to yourself
Hmm.
because I
Yeah.
think that really is the gift here. This is a healing practice.
Yeah. And these were journal entries. These weren't like edited a lot. So I encourage you to do the same, just kind of like a free flow writing. So that's what you're getting here. All right, here we go.
Mm.
Dear Jessica, hello from the future. I am your 50-year-old future self. I know that sounds hella old. And I'm here with a love note for you. You must be wondering if you turn out okay. You do. You are going to have a wonderful life. You are 22 right now, and this is an exciting and challenging time. And I know sometimes it feels really hard. Your school roadmap just ended. Yay, no more tests. But boo, no more guidance. Now you're trying out acting in Los Angeles, and I know it feels pretty scary. There is no clear path, job security, solid community, or certainty. You feel like everyone else has it figured out, and you don't. Fun fact, we never fully figure it out. You are not behind or left out. My big sister advice to you is to be a good friend to yourself. Treat yourself well. All the health advice about sleeping enough and eating healthy is really good for you. Also, surround yourself by other people who like to take good care of themselves as well. Oh, and when you start therapy soon and they offer you help, take it. It's not a shameful thing. We talk so much more openly about mental health now, and you'll really benefit from this help. Also, drinking is not your friend. You will figure this out pretty soon. But if I can save you from another horrible hangover or an embarrassing situation, I will. Dating. Examine who you are attracted to and why, Jess. Why are you attracted to the unavailable type? The one who's always looking away from you. What is it about this type that attracts you? Hint, they are very similar to a close relative. This relative is someone you want to avoid. Stop trying to please them and get them to notice you. Look up the word narcissist. It fits this person to a T. We talk a lot about narcissists nowadays. You cannot win over their love, but you can love yourself fiercely and find other people who do as well. Ask yourself how you feel after you hang out with people. Do you feel good and full or tired and depleted? Hang out with the givers, not the takers. I know you and mom need some healthy space right now, but you've got a good mama. So love her up. John 2. These people are your people. And most of all, you are your people. I know it's so easy to look side of yourself for validation and acceptance. And yes, you love people, but I really want you to invest in you. Be selfish. Listen to your inner compass. You have a good sense of the world, so believe your gut. When it comes to work, know your worth. Be discerning. You don't have to take every job, even when you are starting out. Ask yourself what really aligns with your interests. Also, be open and flexible about where that takes you. Yes, you wind up very happy, but not exactly in the way you imagine you will right now. So be open, be curious, and also be fiercely protective about your precious time, energy, and talent. Find your community. Your connection to nature is strong, and believe that the simple things in life are truly enough. You are enough, more than enough. You are so capable and powerful. Just keep listening to your intuition. You are wiser than you think. Love your future self. P.S. Don't overpluck your eyebrows. P.P.S. Get out of that abusive acting studio and try improv instead. You're going to love it.
Whoa. I mean, I feel like I need to applaud. So beautiful. And I feel pulled into that time and that
Mm,
questioning and the wondering and that ability to now say back to that part of yourself. And if, we believe that inner child work is a truly healing practice,
yeah.
that you just healed not only yourself, but I feel a little bit healed. And I think our
Mm,
girlfriends just got a healing too.
I love that. Oh, there
Oh,
was so much, just contemplating life and, wondering. And I didn't have dependence. So that time of life is so much about you, right? And figuring it out. But I just always felt like I was a little lost and was really going for a kind of career that didn't have any clear roadmap. So I just
mm,
wanted to let myself know more than anything that that roadmap that we're always like chasing, it's in us. It really is.
mm,
And that looking outside of ourselves for the answers isn't really where we're going to find them. Community, help, support, therapy, all those things are really important, but really trusting that inner instinct. Oh, I mean, right? If I could
mm.
give myself that sense now, and I don't know, it's an interesting question. It brings up the idea of like, with experience, that's what we get. So can we tell that to our young selves?
Right.
Would we hear it? I don't know how I would react to this
That's true
letter.
because how many grown-ups gave you pieces of this advice? Your mother, your aunts, like other
Yes, yes.
elder women who were like, "Girl, you on the wrong track. Let's get you back on the track and then you'll be fine." And you were just like, "No." No, I've got this figured out.
I know this.
I know what I want. I know what I need. And
Mhm,
also that confusion about, I loved what you said about
mhm.
boyfriends and friends. It's like
Oh my
the
gosh.
things that we thought at the time were like, but this is comforting. It's comforting because it was abuse.
It's what we were used
It's what we were
to.
used to.
Uh-huh. Like it pushed a button,
I
but
pushed
the
the
wrong
button,
button.
the wrong button,
That's right.
but we thought it felt familiar, and that
Yes,
familiarity was safety and security,
exactly.
and it was the very thing we were giving away actively.
I know. I know.
Girl, you're telling my story. I mean, so I saw so much of myself in this, and I wanna
Mm.
thank you for your vulnerability and for going first, and
It was a great exercise.
yeah.
And I can't wait to hear yours and see about the parallels and see about where maybe things are a little different. So, thank you. Thank you for listening. Listeners, thank you for indulging me. And it's really a really wonderful exercise. Yeah. You really have that like big sister vibe when you're reading it back to yourself. Are you ready to roll up your
I'm ready, and so
yeah?
it's interesting.
Mm,
I feel like you did yours more, like, as intended, and
mm,
last night I was like,
mm.
"Oh, I said all the things," which is really a journal and a love letter to myself. So
Mm.
I rewrote it late last night, and then this morning I was like, "But should I put more things in?" So it was interesting. I thought about mine a lot because I was
Uh-huh.
going public with it.
Right.
So it was funny, you were talking and I grabbed my pen. I was like, I wanted to put that back in, but I'm just going to read mine as it is and
That's
just
nice.
know that like I'm going to share with you the full one because
Sure.
I do want that to be witnessed, but
I'm
in a
happy to.
way that I know it will be held appropriately.
I love that. That speaks to
Yeah.
good boundaries.
Thank you.
Absolutely good boundaries and knowing what you feel comfortable sharing in what setting. So I think that's really, really healthy. Good
Mm,
for you.
thank you,
Good
honey.
for you for doing that.
So, my context is that I wrote this to myself when I was 25, and
Mm.
25 was a really big year for me. I moved out.
Mm.
And I got my own apartment. I lived alone, which would turn into a 6-year adventure of living alone in Berkeley, California.
Mm.
And I had put off going to school, so I had just started at UC Berkeley. So
Okay.
I was completely a new person, and
Wow.
I could tell that I had grabbed onto my star and it was taking me where I needed to go.
Oh, how
So
great.
for me, I was like, I was feeling it, but also really insecure because I was
Mhm.
outside of the structure of my family
Uh-huh.
and with my loving parents who gave me all kinds of freedom and permission, but there were no guardrails of them.
Yeah.
I had to lock my own doors at the end of the
You
day.
were
And
really
so
on your own.
I was really on my
Out
own.
there
I
on your
plunked
own.
myself in the middle of the city. So
Uh-huh.
I was really going for it. So that is what this is, that this version of me.
I love it.
So, dear Flachet, at 25, this is my love letter to you. I'm going to cry from the amazing age of 51. I won't bury the lead, and I will tell you that you go on to live a glorious life. You've been married for over 20 years, and you have two beautiful sons. And this is what you are seeking the answers to. Everything can be true. This means that people can be loving and hateful. They can be smart and clueless. They can be hot and cold. They can be racist and an agent of change. They can respect you and still hurt you. This one will be very difficult for you because you and everybody you know was raised to believe in revenge, cattiness, competition, betrayal, drama, and loads of complacency. It will take you a while, but you will absolutely figure out that most things are not as they seem. Most people will not be worth the energy that you will willingly give them. And you will learn that love and passion are not at all like the teen romance novels that you still like to read. Here's your crystal ball. Keep punching above your weight. Here I am at 51 and still don't think that you and I have reached the level that we are called to. And this whole time I think that really the best is yet to come.
Hmm.
And I have the great honor of reporting to you from here that your life is about to take off. You will graduate from UC Berkeley with top grades. You will achieve a master's degree in counseling psychology. You will take yourself to Europe. You will write a book. You will start a podcast. You will finally reach a stage where you can call yourself a queen and not a princess anymore. You will be a mom and a wife on your own terms. Some things to watch out for. You have a tendency to stay too long at parties, jobs, relationships, etc. And yes, you're doing that right now. It's partly your can do attitude, good girl act,
Mm,
and your psychic skills that tell you this. Start practicing asking yourself, what do you want before you answer any opportunity, whether it's a date or a job? What do you want for dinner? What would be fun for you right now? Do you really want to spend time with that person? Do you just want to say no? What's in your best interest? What will your future self say about the current opportunity you're considering? What is your intuition telling you?
mm,
Hear this. I love you. I admire you. I respect you. You are grace under fire. Many people will misbehave in your presence, but something that you will realize in your 50s is that at a certain level, everyone is dealing with their own wounded inner child. You thought you were good for keeping the peace. Walking on eggshells seemed like the most loving thing you could do for them. But at some point, you ask yourself, whose peace am I keeping? Answer, it's not yours.
mm,
Your peace is your birthright. Be the leading lady in your own story. Make a mess. Make mistakes. Speak up. Fight back. Take risks. Perfection, it turns out, equals death.
mm.
Trust yourself. Use all of your skills. Starve out the narcissists. Keep dreaming. Keep dancing. Obstacles, it turns out, are really fun to go around. Admire yourself more than others. Don't let anyone use you. Don't be afraid to be ghosted. Don't be afraid to being disliked. And don't let anyone else tell you who you are. You are so loved. Your people will fight for you. Stop chasing. The people who are worth a damn feel good to be around. Your opinion matters. Keep your childlike wonder because it turns out that helps you to unlock the meaning of your life. Heartbreaks are part of life. Don't fight it. Some thoughts on spirituality. It's not spiritual to be abused.
Mm.
It's not spiritual to be neglected. It's not spiritual to stifle your feelings. It's not spiritual to pretend like you live in the 14th century. It's not spiritual to be broke. It's not spiritual to ignore your feelings. And it's not spiritual to follow rigid rules and beliefs.
Mm.
Go on more dates. And thank you for being so diligent about sunscreen. But please floss more. I love you and I'm here to support you. You can call on me anytime. We are healing together. Love me.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, such sage advice.
She needed all of that advice and she was like dancing. She was talking herself. You know what? I
Mm,
had most of this advice and I was dancing away from it, around it, and pushing it away because I thought I was being spiritual and loving
mm,
and supportive of those around me. And I invited all these narcissists into my life. Even after this year of being 25,
mhm.
found me a whole new narcissist. I
What?
mean,
Yeah.
as I was breaking up with one. So it was just like a really interesting time and I knew better,
Yes.
but I didn't do better.
Oh, and you just are you're just gonna know what you're gonna know. You're gonna do what you're gonna do. And I think so much of the 20s is still sort of testing the boundaries. What does it mean to be a
Mm,
young adult? And
mm.
your frontal lobe, they say, is still forming until like I think age 26 or 27. So there's still even if there's this sense that something is right or wrong, you still wanna, I don't know, test fate a little bit,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And we can, right?
we
We
can.
go from being under the loving guidance of our families
Mhm.
and then the freedom of moving out.
Yep.
And then it is like, who am I in this big world,
Yeah,
right? A
yeah,
young woman alone. How
uh-huh.
do I figure this out? How do I traverse life? And how do I not get pigeonholed? Because I feel like the culture Even though we don't all want to say it, the culture wants women to kind of be safe. Well, go find a good man to take care of
Mm,
you.
mhm,
Be careful. There's
mhm.
a lot of encouragement for us not to be big,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
not to wear the sexy thing, not be
Mhm,
self-expressed. But that
mhm.
is part of what and who we are.
It is, it is. So, yes, I love to well, first, I love that you gave yourself some hints. I felt like that would be cheating to let my past self know what happens. So, I like
Mm.
how you actually told them. I was like, "I don't wanna jinx it, so I'm not gonna mention who I marry and stuff." But that's
Oh,
fine. You needed that. You needed to tell your former
I
self
did need
there
that because I
that.
believe in magic and I believe in manifesting. I believe in
Yeah.
crystal balls and I was desperate for one.
So you're
Funny,
like, "Thank you."
I don't feel desperate for a crystal ball now because I'm
Mhm.
actually really enjoying the adventure of life.
Yeah,
But this wounded young woman,
you needed to know that.
she needed to know because
That's
that's why
beautiful.
I held on to the liars and the cheats and the
Mm.
assholes, is because I didn't think I would get better.
Mhm.
I didn't think, I thought a warm body was better than nobody.
Oh, I think so. I think there's such an interesting thing about being young, and I even see this in some of my lovely students is they feel like there's this very kind of like it's all or nothing approach. So they're broken or they just don't have a thing, right? And there's this like I think actually as we age, we can understand that there's much more fluid, you know, possibilities in life. But I think when
Mm,
we are young, we're not always open to that. And it's so ironic. Like, oh, I don't know that yet. It's like you're young. This is the time to learn it. And it's like, oh no, I need to know it or not. That was sort of what I was telling myself when I was saying that, you think everyone else has it figured out or that they somehow have a thing that you don't. No one
mm,
does. Everyone is kind of figuring it out.
yeah.
But I do remember at that age in particular feeling very much like you either have it or you don't. It was
Mm.
very black and white thinking.
Yes.
Very black and white thinking
I
then.
think that's why I started my letter with everything. Things are more complicated than you think.
Yeah, that was
It's not black
beautiful.
or white,
That was
good or
beautiful.
bad, up or down,
Right.
that there really is this interplay. And at that time in my life, it did make me angry,
Yeah.
right? People are good or they're bad. People
Right.
are for me or they're against me. You
Mm.
can't have a mix. It's too complicated for my poor brain. Um, and so, especially that one, what did I say? People can respect you and still hurt you.
It's
Like,
so
I
true.
just had absolutely no ability to understand any of that.
Well, it's complex, isn't it? And
Mhm.
and I don't know. I don't know at that age if we were either of us were quite equipped to think that way. Also maybe being people pleasers and having our specific background, right? We kind of wanted to be all good ourselves, right? So were we tolerating those parts of ourselves that weren't all good,
Mm.
right? So then that's
Right,
what we want to see reflected back.
right,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
right.
I loved it. I loved all of that beautiful advice you gave. And then the real similarity I feel is that I felt like we were both strongly saying to trust yourself, to avoid narcissists, just these
Mhm.
pitfalls that I don't know if you were listening going, me too, me too, me too. But I was sitting over here like, yes, yes. I feel like that is such a similar thing that if we could somehow instill in our young women and young people for that matter, I want that to be the same for my boys. This idea that like you are going to learn so much and you're going to gain wisdom and experience, but your core self really knows a lot right now.
Yes. Right, that there
Right?
were some really good instincts too,
Yeah,
because that she led you to here,
that's right.
and my 25-year-old led me here.
She did.
And I was noticing too how much she was very wise. That, you know, I re- maybe I didn't say enough of that. You'll hear my other version. But there is so much, a lot of wisdom in her that I see in this version. Didn't get called out as much, but I can see it too. She
Mhm.
didn't know how it was going to work out, and she thought she was making shit up. She thought, "Oh, I'm just making this up using my imagination." And
Mm.
I didn't say it explicitly, but it turns out that's what the intuition is. It's our imagination, the
Mm.
very thing that the culture says, "Oh, that's just your imagination, honey. That's just
Mhm.
silliness. Get back
Mm.
to work, or
Mm.
go make me some eggs or
Mhm.
whatever, whatever the outside world is asking of us." Um, So, whoa, this was big. I'm feeling some feels, and I'm so curious to see what this triggers for our girlfriends.
Yes,
Yeah.
we went there. We shared with our former selves and think for yourself too. Really, our prompt was writing a love note to your past self, and you can pick the age. Maybe it would be a younger self. Maybe you'd be a kid. There was part of me that was tempted to do that, or maybe it'd be some time in your 30s. Any time frame that you feel like was a pivotal moment in your life. I noticed we both definitely chose pivotal transitional
Mm,
times. We feel the most vulnerable at those times in our life,
yeah. Well,
but
this
they're
is my
also so
first.
ripe for opportunity.
I know for me, this is the first time I felt like a real grown up.
Yes,
Even though I had
that
been
is
a
for me
bona
too.
fide or a legal grown up for some
Yeah,
time, I didn't feel it
yeah,
until
yeah,
25.
yeah. I think at 22, I was doing pretend grown up, but that's how you do it at first.
It
You're
is.
figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can't wait to hear what you all think. Thank you for listening to ours. I thought it was really lovely, and I loved witnessing yours. That was really moving. I feel like my younger self needed to hear some of the things you were sharing as well. So thank you for that.
Well, that's the thing I think too, and why I want to encourage our girlfriends, to share with us on Substack where they're at with this, because there is something healing about hearing another woman's journey.
Yeah.
We hear parts of ourselves that we maybe didn't quite have access to.
Yeah.
Or like that I wasn't present to when I was writing this. And so hearing
Mhm.
yours was so inspiring and
Mhm.
healing for me. I feel the healing from yours. So I'm
Mhm.
going to draft off that. And I
Mhm.
hope that you, as our girlfriend, will draft off of what we've shared here.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not ready to share it in a bigger context, and
Right.
that's okay too. This really is about you and your healing journey. And that's so much of what we are here. That's what you and I are here for.
Absolutely. That is definitely being a girlfriend of a certain age and just like really living your truth. Oh, all the different versions of ourselves now. It's getting rich. There's a lot to look back on. It's pretty moving. So thank you, girlfriends. This was so lovely. As always, we love you. We're here for you. And we can't wait to hear what you think about this episode. Also, if you can share a like and a subscribe, especially on Apple Podcasts. We're noticing that we're getting a lot of listeners there, which is wonderful. But if you can rate and subscribe to us, we would greatly appreciate that. So, our love note to you is that we hope you have a wonderful day and thanks so much. Until next time, bye, girlfriend.
Bye.